Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I found the following statement, and I think I'm going to have it printed on my business cards. It says the following: I don't trip and fall. I do random gravity checks. I love that. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a rainy, cloudy, wet, soggy Wednesday. Oh, good morning, and thank you for tuning in. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with a great big fall tire sale right now. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, I want a patriot on the air to give us our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow. Thank you, Linda. God bless you, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
You too.
All right. Thank you so much. Beautiful lady right there with a great, great voice. Thank you so much. Right now, it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to us by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hebron. Morning, Roger and the crew over there at K&R Rental. I'll tell you what, they offer the best of tools and equipment for rental, and if you need tilling equipment for your gardens, time to do it. You might wait a day or two to get it a little bit dried up, if you will. They've got all the excavators for you. They've got all the air compressors to blow out those sprinkler lines. All of this at K&R Rental. Absolutely on the Burley Paul Highway, 678-3122. Right now, here's the weather.
Expect more rain showers for today and maybe even tonight, but maybe some sunshine for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Yes, rain showers expected off and on throughout the entirety of today. Mostly cloudy skies. On the breezy side as well, gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 47 tonight. Those rain showers are going to continue. Hopefully they're going to taper off in the overnight hours. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 33. We do have a slight chance of rain showers for Thursday. Partly sunny by the afternoon. Expecting a high of 51, mostly clear, and 28 for Thursday night. As we head on into the weekend, by Friday, going to see some sunshine, high of 56 with an overnight low of 30. Saturday, sunny and 54, and for Sunday, sunny and 47. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Excellent job, as always. And the weather brought to you by some folks that also do an excellent job, and that's K&R Rental. At 256 South, 600 west of Hebron, you be sure and stop in and see Roger and the crew today. They can and they will help you with the tools and equipment you need at K&R Rental. Okay, let's see. We've got a whole bunch of things to talk about this morning, and I'm going to call on the ladies in the audience, and I want to find out the real truth. We hear so much on the national media about, oh, well, the numbers are in, and this is the way it is, or the poll says this, and this is the way it is. Ladies in the audience, I want you to help me find the truth here in this area, or if you're listening on the internet, anywhere you're calling from, be it Montana, Colorado, Texas, wherever. A liberal commentator yesterday, Juan Williams, a man that I find it hard to really like, said that all the numbers are in, and overwhelmingly, women were against the Brett Kavanaugh appointment to the Supreme Court. He used the term overwhelmingly. Women were against the appointment of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. Okay, we're going to find out how the great ladies in this area feel. And if it's not true that overwhelmingly the numbers show that women were against the Brett Kavanaugh appointment to the Supreme Court. So I'd like the ladies to call this morning. Really, I'd like to hear from you to really either agree with that statement by black commentator Juan Williams or go against it. Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I am waiting for your call, come on, gals. I want to remind you about Ramsey Heating and Electric, and they're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Stand by, caller. I'll be right there. And, of course, the number to call, and they can have your order waiting for you for all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs right there at 678-0459. These folks are absolutely phenomenal. In business for over 6 decades, serving you with your heating and cooling needs. So I urge you to stop in. Or if you've got problems, they can come, they can help fix the problem. Absolutely wonderful people. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. Also, real quick, before we take our first call, Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. Our next lunch bunch is going to be there for our Halloween lunch bunch on the 25th of October. Don't forget that at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and their other location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Absolutely the best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All the time, anytime at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello, Zeb. This Juan Williams, I wish he wasn't even on television. I think that Brett Kavanaugh was really put through the ringer. And that woman, that Ford woman, I think she was paid. Anyway, I think the Democrats are just trying to swing things their way. I don't think there's any truth in their so-called polls.
I really appreciate your call to start things off on this morning from the ladies in our audience. And I'm just going to say this, and I hope you're not offended by what I say, but I'm going to be very blunt. I thought that Ms. Ford came off as a complete flake. She calls herself a psychologist and a psychiatrist, but my goodness, she didn't have any clue as to what she was talking about. She acted jittery and nervous. She didn't know where, when, how, and who. I mean, it was completely disoriented, and I have no respect for people that make false allegations. And I'm just going to come right out and say, I did not think she was believable like a lot of people did.
I agree with you.
Thank you for breaking the ice this morning. So you're in favor of Brett Kavanaugh being appointed, correctly?
I definitely am.
I appreciate it.
He was railroaded.
To say the least. Hey, thank you very much. You're always welcome calling in on this program. Thank you so much. All right, there's one lady breaking the ice. I'd like to hear from this is kind of a ladies' day this morning, this first hour. Do you, as a woman, are you offended and mad because Brett Kavanaugh was appointed to the Supreme Court? Juan Williams yesterday said on television that the numbers of women overwhelmingly were against the Brett Kavanaugh appointment to the Supreme Court. Already the first caller has dispelled that. I want to hear from the ladies this morning, so give me a call, please, at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, gals, please. Today's your day. Make your voices heard. I want to talk to you also real quick, if I could, while I'm waiting for your call, to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You know, if you've got an ache and a pain and you're recovering from surgery or maybe an accident, there is no place better. They really know what they're doing at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I bit my tongue. Rehabilitation. It sounds better that time. 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And I'm telling you, Nick Greenwell and all the top-notch professional physical therapists can help you with the exercises and the use of that hydrotherapy pool. Excellent. Number to call, 678-1191. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, helping you. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Yes, I'm voting along with everyone else that Brett Kavanaugh is in the right place. And as a mother, to watch this woman testify against Brett and the way she did it was so false, it wasn't truthful at all.
Would you care to expand a little bit on the 6 FBI probes into Kavanaugh's life, and then number 7 happening just a week ago? And is there any credence at all that all those probes into his past judgeships, if you will, didn't turn over anything like this? I'm just going to be blunt. I know who I'm talking to, and I have a lot of respect for you. But I absolutely have to be blunt. I think the women were absolute liars, frauds, and paid to give a false commentary. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. You know, knowing what the FBI used to be like and their ability to check things out, that this should never have been done. They should never have gone a 7th time because, you know, there just wasn't anything there. If there was, it would have shown up. They would have found this years ago.
I agree. Thank you, and I do appreciate your call. Thank you so much, and don't make yourself a stranger. I appreciate your thoughts this morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you very, very much. You know, the one thing before I take the next call, stand by, I just can't understand why all the information garnered and gathered about Brett Kavanaugh, and then the Democrats had the nerve to say that the last investigation by the FBI was not thorough enough. Oh, come on. Don't forget Soats Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley. They make your life easier. They help me. I'll tell you what, I love my John Deere. You'll love all the equipment and all the help in the service at Soats Equipment Company at 119 Overland in Burley, your John Deere dealer. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. Thank you for your call. How do you feel about the nomination and seating of Judge Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court?
I totally agree with him and everything that's happened. I am totally sorry.
Let me ask you, I don't know as if you've ever called me.
Family.
I kind of overran you a little bit, ma'am. I'm sorry. There was a delay there. Could you say that again, please?
I just said that I just felt sad for what his family
and
himself had gone through. I had only seen a small portion of it on the TV, and his face was so. Anyway, I just had to turn off. I couldn't continue watching, but I have been keeping up on listening.
I appreciate your call. It meant a lot to me that you would take the time and the effort to call in this morning, and thank you, and have a blessed day. Thank you so much.
One more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody who would go to 10 rape parties must really be a wannabe and really hope that they're next or something. I don't know.
You know what? That is an excellent point. That is an excellent point that you brought up this morning. Excellent.
She just wanted it to happen to her so she'd have something to say.
Amen. Thank you. You're a very kind lady. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Right.
You know, and that's a point. That lady just brought up a point that Deanna and I have talked about on numerous occasions with the Sweatnick lady that had the creepy lawyer defending her, saying that she was at the rape parties. 10 times at 10 parties? Didn't you know that maybe if you didn't want to be there and you were afraid for your safety, etc., that maybe that's not a good place to be? Maybe you should have stayed home and watched the Fabric Channel or the one that they show all the different gifts that you can buy for extreme prices. Come on. This whole thing is just absolutely a Western false front building. Ladies, call. So far, every lady has said they support Brett Kavanaugh. And what we're trying to do here is yesterday in the afternoon on the show called The Five, I came in from the rain, turned it on, and black liberal commentator Juan Williams said, and I'm giving a paraphrase, but it's almost close to a quote, that the overwhelming number of women were against the Brett Kavanaugh appointment to the Supreme Court. I dispute that, and I'm proving it right now. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
I know where you're going.
But they didn't ask me.
What would you have said? Okay, now be honest and keep your caller number 2, stay there. I'll be right there. But what would you have said had someone called you on a polling service regarding this situation? What would you have said?
I would have said, vote him in. Vote him in. He's well, deserves the position. I watched that whole interview with both Kavanaugh and his accuser. Maybe she did have something happen to her at some point in her life, but she needs to pull her big girl pants up and get over it. It wasn't Brett Kavanaugh. She was not credible in my eyes at all. I thought she was very well scripted as to what she had to say. She couldn't produce days, times, and here was kind of sketchy. She had to ask about the friend's employment at Winco or something to even get the year right.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
So,
yeah,
so, and as far as, I really believe that all these women have been paid, and they are, and I'm kind of afraid to say, well, I'm not really afraid, but it kind of worries me when I say they were a blemish on the women population.
That was stated yesterday, Donna, by another commentator, a conservative commentator. A lady said something comparable to your comment right now, and I agree. It hurt women in general because of the falsification of the stories, especially when you get down to the Martinez story and the Sweatnick story. They were vile, they were filthy, they were sensational, only to get attention.
Yes, I'm in total agreement. None of them are credible. And as far as that, what is Tucker Carlson calling the creepy
porn lawyer? Yeah.
He needs to go back to whatever hole he crawled out of. To pay these women and to come all of a sudden, the Stormy Daniels debacle is in the past too.
Yeah.
They all wanted their 15 minutes of fame. They've had it. They ruined a man's life.
Absolutely.
This will follow him for the rest of his life. And the ones I feel the worst for are his wife and children to have to put up with this.
Amen. Donna, I've got another call waiting, but I want to tell you how much I appreciate your call. Say hello to my old buddy George, please.
I will, and you give Deanna a hug for me.
I will. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Caller number 2, I appreciate your call, but don't get mad at me. I've got to do a quick commercial. I'll be right with you. I really want to hear what you have to say. Don't forget the Bennett Boys Auction Service. They're going to have this coming Saturday, the Walker and Jean Carr Estate Auction, located a little bit south of Twin Falls, starting at 11 o'clock on this Saturday. From the Pay and Pack corner, go south 2 miles, then east on 3600 for 1 mile. You'll see the signs. You can't miss it. It's going to start at 11 o'clock on Saturday with all all kinds of really, really good farm equipment, tractors, trailers, shop tools, livestock items, lawn and garden items. A good sale for you. Don't miss this. Saturday at 11 o'clock, this coming Saturday the 13th, the Walker and Jean Carr Estate Auction, a little bit south of Twin Falls. Look for the signs, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, they sell them all. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Deb. Yes, I think Kavanaugh should have been confirmed a long time ago. It didn't really give me heartburn that there was a seventh investigation, just because I felt very positive that it would come out the way that it did. And 7 seems to be a magic number. But, you know, it's really sad for those people that do have situations, whether or not she had a situation that was compromising to her, I have no doubt. But it sure leaves people that honestly do in a debacle, because it makes them appear as though they're not honest as well.
Yes. I really appreciate your thought on that, because, number one, let me state this. Anytime there is this kind of a situation, yes, it needs to be investigated. Yes, parties concerned need to be prosecuted if they have done something to someone with sexual assault or any kind of assault. But for people to use sexual assault allegations just to go after people, and they are unproven and unfounded, I think after they have been found to be totally erroneous, that the people that were perpetrating the allegation, they should be fined and they should be sued.
I think so too. And you know, the biggest thing in his testimony to me, and I have to say I did not listen to the whole thing, but was the diary. He had written so much down and documented so much. Those dates, although they were vague, and listen, how many of us at 14, 15 years old can remember an exact day unless we're Kavanaugh and we wrote it down?
Absolutely.
You know, I don't even have a squabble with that. I don't care. I don't need to know if it was July 21st or June 30th. I don't care. The thing that I thought was so important was the fact that he had that. All he had to do was go to the shelf, pull out 1982, and voila, there you go. This is what I did during the summer.
Absolutely.
He talks about that they were possible. This is what I was doing. The possibility of me even being in town was slim to none.
You know, you've laid this out as good as the speech that Susan Collins gave last week. I think you do a great job. I'm not trying to hurry you along, but I've got other ladies that want to get on the air also, but thank you.
Anyway.
Well, God bless you and have a good day at work. Thank you. All right. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Stand by. Please do not leave. I want to say thanks to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert. Every Monday, we give away a dozen cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox when you answer the trivia question. What a great place to eat. What a great bakery at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. Caller number 2, thank you for your patience. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Zeb. I hope I'm not repeating myself, but I stepped away from or repeating something somebody else said. I stepped away for a moment to check on Hurricane Michael because I have a cousin down in North Carolina, and I'm worried about them. And I heard this, that multiple sources are saying that a professor at the University of North Carolina has recommended Christine Blasey Ford for an award that goes to an outstanding graduate because she stood up and spoke out against, she's an example for women who spoke out against sexual assault when she spoke out against Brett Kavanaugh.
I have
disgusting.
I have no comment on that for this reason. Number one, I want to look into the variables behind this possible elevating her to this kind of a position or this kind of occasion of where they're going to salute her. I want to look into it a little bit further. But honestly, Linda, when I listened and watched her testimony, and maybe people are going to criticize me for being sexist, go ahead, I don't care. But I looked at her, and she looked to me like somebody that was searching for the right answer to the question so that she would look good, Kavanaugh would look bad. She looked like she hadn't really studied her homework the night before, and she reminded me of a little sparrow on the edge of a bird feeder that was ready to dart off back and forth for fear a bigger bird was going to come after her. That's the look of Ms. Ford, and I did not trust her.
Yeah. I'd like to know what you find, because that's all that I was able to pick up.
Well, what I'll do, my lovely bride, and we have sources back in that area that work with us and for us on political information, and I'll turn Deanne loose, and we'll see what we can find, and if we can find anything on this before the end of the hour, I'll give it a go. Linda, thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We're asking for the ladies to call in because I'm trying to dispel, I really am trying to dispel a comment that was made by black commentator Juan Williams yesterday, and I find him to be very repulsive. He said that the overwhelming numbers of women were against the Brett Kavanaugh appointment to the Supreme Court. So far, every single caller that I've had this morning has been in favor of Brett Kavanaugh. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric offering service you can trust along with Lennox products. And don't forget this, that the Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases. So call them today and find out more at 678-0459. And that's Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Over 60 years of serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Well, I don't agree that overwhelmingly women felt that way. However, I would like to know, I've thought about this, if Swetnick seen 10 rapes or whatever, why is she not in trouble for not reporting that?
Excellent.
Bad as Kavanaugh would have been.
Excellent point. Why wasn't there any reporting? Why weren't there other witnesses coming forward? Why wasn't there a police investigation in a community that was relatively small in numbers? Ma'am, you are very perceptive, and that's one of the best questions that I think should be asked. Why didn't she report this heinous happening a long time ago?
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. That lady is sharp. Why was it not reported? Oh, no. Instead of reporting it, she only went back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Ridiculous. Wheels, I'm sorry. Do I have another call? I couldn't remember if I heard the cow or not.
No, I'm hoping someone will call.
All right, thank you. So far, every single lady that has called in this morning has dispelled Juan Williams' I thought, outlandish remark yesterday that there are overwhelming numbers of women against the Brett Kavanaugh appointment. Well, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do after the program is I'm going to send our little survey back to Juan Williams and basically call him what I think he is. A liar. Ladies, please call me. Let's inflate the numbers a little bit more. And if you don't agree, I'd like to hear that number or that call also. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you, too, about Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors. A wonderful, wonderful idea to help seniors. Holly Rowe, and I just salute Holly for this. 312-5715, the number to call. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. If you're a senior but you want to stay in your home, doggone, I don't blame you. Call Holly at 312-5715, and Hearts for Seniors can help you with maybe some daily tasks, or maybe a meal preparation, or maybe some light housekeeping, or just a little bit of companionship. Absolutely. You call them today at 312-5715, or go to Holly at heartsforseniors.net. Great idea, 312-5715. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Ladies, I am asking you a favor this morning. I would really like to hear from you and your thoughts about the Brett Kavanaugh nomination and final decision to put him on the Supreme Court. Juan Williams, black liberal commentator, yesterday said that overwhelming numbers of women, using that terminology, were against the Brett Kavanaugh appointment to the Supreme Court. Evidently, his overwhelming numbers didn't pertain to us here, because so far every woman that's called in this morning, and I thank them all, has been in favor of Brett Kavanaugh. Caller, good morning. You're on the air, please.
Hi. I'm a woman, and I think she was lying. And my reason is because if it was so traumatic that she blocked it out, I mean, what she said happened would not have been that traumatic to cause her to block it out. Okay? And I am a survivor of abuse. And so I know what I'm talking about. But I remember it happening to me when I was 5. And yes, it happened, and yes, I remember it distinctly, but I didn't block it out.
Right.
And I was 5. I wasn't 14. I didn't put myself in that situation.
Let me ask you that right there. May I interrupt you right there and ask you a question? You didn't block it out, and you remember. When Ms. Ford made the statement that she couldn't remember where, she couldn't remember when, and she couldn't remember exactly who, what were your thoughts when you heard that?
It didn't. Well, okay, my thought was, okay, maybe it happened, but it wasn't Brett Kavanaugh, because she wouldn't have blocked it out for that long. If he had been, put in as a judge before, and, they did all of this background check on him, she would have remembered it then. I know exactly where it happened to me, and I was 5. I don't remember the dates. I don't, 5-year-olds don't even know what a calendar is. But, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. There was just too many discrepancies. She didn't know too many things. She waited too long to come forward. And it's a repressed memory, and those have been proven to be false most times.
What about... Let me ask you this, if I may, and I've got to get some commercials in, but I can't tell you how much I thank you for your honesty and your appraisal of this situation. But what about the other charges from Swetnick and Martinez, etc., especially the absolutely sleazy charges from Sletnick saying that she had been to 10 of the rape parties? What were your thoughts when you heard this? To me, it was one of the filthiest, vile allegations of lies that I've ever heard.
Yeah, I think they were paid. I really do. I have no respect for the Democratic Party because I think they're just doing anything they can to make Trump fail. And you don't, as a woman, you don't put yourself in that situation 10 times.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. If it happened one time, you would not be seen there if you had any kind of morals at all.
You are a very, very nice, courageous lady, and I absolutely thank you for your filling in on the program this morning, your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you. What a nice lady, and I appreciate that. Ladies, please call. We are dispelling a rumor. Well, it's not a rumor. We're dispelling a comment. And what Black Juan Williams said yesterday on television, it offended me. I know that I'm not speaking for my wife. I'm speaking with my wife, and she said that's not true. He made the comment that overwhelming numbers of women were against the Brett Kavanaugh appointment. So far, 9 ladies have called in this morning, and every one of them have said they side with Brett Kavanaugh. Calls welcome, please. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to tell you that Producers Livestock Marketing Association in Jerome's going to have a special. Now listen up, boys and gals in the cattle business. Special feeder cattle sale. It's going to be Saturday, October 20th at high noon, 12 p.m. These are choice cattle. Choice cattle, underline that word, and no dairy or dairy cross cattle. These are choice feeder cattle. And I'm telling you, call my friend Dan Schiffler at 539-4933. I'll say that number again if you want to consign, 539-4933. Or the office number at Producers in Jerome, 324-4345. This is a special feeder cattle sale, a ripping good one, Saturday, October 20th. Don't you miss it at Producers Livestock in Jerome. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I think that women are very careful to say things like this a lot of times because it ruins their reputation because nobody believes them. So that's what makes it so difficult. And so when somebody does say that it happened, I think you better believe them.
So let me ask you this. You are absolutely in favor of Ms. Ford, Ms. Swetnick, and Ms. Martinez on what their allegations were?
Uh-huh.
You do. And why do you think they're credible?
Because why would any woman put her name out there and say that where so many people will not believe you that you will be fighting for your reputation the rest of your life? And I think that's what happens to a lot of women.
I'm not here to criticize your comments. I'm here to thank you for your comment, as a matter of fact. Let me ask you this. You don't think that with the 11th hour in the nomination process for Brett Kavanaugh, that all of this happened kind of fishy? All these allegations came up at the 11th hour when nothing was found out in 6 previous FBI investigations? Don't you think it sounded a little fishy to you?
Yes. In her case, she was willing to be used for that purpose because she didn't want him to be nominated or to be what is it?
The Supreme Court. Yeah.
And the thing is, somewhere along in her past, somebody may have done this to her, but I don't think it was him.
Oh, so I misunderstood when you started. I thought you said that you believed her that it was Kavanaugh. So you're saying no. Okay.
No,
all right.
I don't believe her.
All right.
I think that something may have happened to her somewhere in her life. And so she knew all of the things to say. She just chose to, because she didn't want him to be a Supreme Court justice.
Let me ask you this real quick. Let me ask you this question real quick because I've got a weather forecast to do, and then I'm going to take some more calls. But as far as the Swetnick allegation of going to these rape parties, she went to 10 of them. I mean, that to me tells me of a person of very low character and very low morals, and also one that you really can't believe. What did you think about her comment?
Oh, she was just trying to get her 10 minutes of fame.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, I think that she's the one that I don't believe.
Okay. Listen, I appreciate your call and your commentary on this. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. After I do the weather, I'm still going to have some time for some more calls from the ladies out in the audience. So far, every single lady has been in favor of the Brett Kavanaugh nomination and appointment to the Supreme Court. And that dispels what Juan Williams had tried to tell the audience nationwide yesterday on Fox News, saying that overwhelming numbers of women are against Brett Kavanaugh. My audience is dispelling that right now this morning. Right now, it's a bold-faced lie to say that overwhelming numbers. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, my goodness, they're located right smack dab behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And the number to call for an appointment, 312-0957. I urge you to give them a call. They promise to provide comprehensive diagnostic hearing evaluations and help you with your hearing needs. Please call them today at 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Expect more rain showers for today and maybe even tonight, but maybe some sunshine for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Yes, rain showers expected off and on throughout the entirety of today. Mostly cloudy skies on the breezy side as well. Gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 47 tonight. Those rain showers are going to continue. Hopefully they're going to taper off in the overnight hours. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 33. We do have a slight chance of rain showers for Thursday. Partly sunny by the afternoon. Expecting a high of 51, mostly clear, and 28 for Thursday night. As we head on into the weekend, by Friday, going to see some sunshine, high of 56 with an overnight low of 30. Saturday, sunny and 54, and for Sunday, sunny and 47. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you, Gina. And don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with 3 wonderful doctors of audiology serving you, offering a combined 50 years of experience in helping you with your hearing health care. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. I'd like some more calls, and I've asked for the ladies in the audience to call this morning to dispel and tear apart the comment that was made by Juan Williams, black liberal commentator, yesterday that said overwhelming numbers of women are against Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. So far this morning, we've found that statement to be absolutely fraudulent. Ladies, please give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, come on, gals, I'd love to hear from you. I'd like to remind everybody about Berry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. Don't forget, I'm telling you, they do a wonderful job on equipment rental and equipment sales, and they've got 3 locations, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli, and the Nampa location. And I'm telling you what, right now on those Bobcats, they've got 0% interest on the Bobcats for up to 60 months. Wow. All the Bobcat excavators in all shapes and sizes at Berry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I'd like to take a knitting needle. I was watching that program when he said that last night, and I would have liked to stuck him with it. I don't like Juan Williams. He hasn't been good all along, and I am for Kavanaugh. I think he's wonderful. I felt so sorry for his family. I wanted to give his wife a hug while all that mess was going on. So I think somebody's got something that's crooked somewhere, and that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your call. I know it took time to call in and everything and wait for a few moments, and it means a lot to me. You've really helped my program this morning because it absolutely shows without a shadow of a doubt, I think, even though most of the calls came in from this area, that all women are not overwhelmingly against Brett Kavanaugh. Just the opposite.
They didn't take my vote either, so I'm with Donna.
All right. Well, listen, God.
Get off that belt that he's on, because he's wrong. Terrible.
Thank you. God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Zeb.
Thank you. All the wonderful women that have called in this morning, I mean this. God bless you for your comments, because and some of you really had to open up the past and share with us some of the things that have happened to you, and I appreciate that very much. But when the liberal left, and this is happening many, many times, the liberal left makes statements and accusations and allegations, they're shot full of holes. And that's exactly the statement that Juan Williams made yesterday, that overwhelming numbers of women are against Brett Kavanaugh. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm not a woman, but I got to tell you about the lunch menu at the Senior Junction today.
All right.
We're having ham and pineapple and mashed taters and gravy, mixed vegetables. And I'm going to have to say yummy dessert because I hadn't decided yet.
Okay, well, listen, the ham and the pineapple is yummy enough. That sounds great. Joe Taylor, and that's over at the Senior Junction on Overland. And if people want a takeout meal to take back to their office, how do they go about that?
Just call the Senior Center at 878-8646. And it'll be ready when you get there.
All right, Joe. God bless you, man. The yummy man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You bet. God bless you. I still have time for a couple more calls, and I'd really like to hear from you. I just was livid when I watched that show yesterday, and Juan Williams made this absolutely asinine statement. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi. I'd just like to say I'm getting real tired of other people telling me how putting out on the radio and TV and all that the way they think we feel. They're not speaking for me, and I know they don't speak for a lot of other women. I never had a problem with that. I was blessed with a really wonderful family and stuff, and I believe that Brett Kavanaugh is right exactly where he needs to be.
Let me ask you quickly, if I may, your thoughts on the allegations themselves, the people that perpetrated the allegations, Ms. Ford, Ms. Martinez, Ms. Swetnick. What did you think of them?
They aren't believable. It doesn't even make sense that Swetnick lady went to 10. I mean, that sounds a little strange, to say the least. And I think it seems to me like that they just dug up people that were willing to say things about Kavanaugh that weren't true.
Absolutely.
I don't believe any of it.
You know, I appreciate your calling in this morning, as I do everyone, and thank you for sharing with us. It meant a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm just shocked. I really am shocked, in a way, that the numbers have been absolutely overwhelming, all in favor of Brett Kavanaugh's appointment. And you know what? I am, like I said, I'm going to send this back to, I have some friends at Fox News in New York, and I'm going to send this back to make sure that Juan Williams gets this. It's these kinds of statements that are all-encompassing statements. Oh, well, this happened, and we all know that's the truth. Well, we all know this is a lie. Juan Williams got on the air yesterday and made the comment that there are overwhelming numbers of women against Brett Kavanaugh. And we're finding out just from the survey here this morning, in this first hour of my radio program, that was a blatant lie. And that's what the Democrats play on and live on, are blatant lies. All the more reason, folks, this election in November is oh so important. I don't want the Nancy Pelosi's. I don't want the Hillary Clintons or the Alexandria Cortezes or anyone like Maxine Waters to be staying in power. I want to see them go away. Caller, I've got 30 seconds. Real fast. Please, go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
And I'm calling in favor of Judge Brett Kavanaugh, Justice Brett Kavanaugh. I packed my TV in storage many years ago, and I listened to my radio very closely these past few days, and I listened to his testimony and Dr. Ford's testimony, And I knew in my heart that Brett Kavanaugh was telling the truth, and his calendar, how he is meticulous in his time frame and all the activities that he was involved with in those days. And I believed his testimony, and that in the spirit that he was giving it, and he had a perfect temperament in what he presented, and he did not take the Lord's name in vain.
I've got to run. I appreciate it. I hope you can hear me. I've got to interrupt because I'm out of time, and I let you have a whole minute, but I do appreciate your call. Thank you. Thank you. That meant a lot to me this morning. Thank you. All the ladies out there, hear me, please. Thank you for calling and sharing and telling us your opinions. Thank you. I want to also say a big thank you to our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They are our major sponsor. And, of course, they're having a big fall tire sale right now. All your passenger car tires, pickup and SUV tire, trailer tires, all of this and so much more, many of which are on sale, and you can save money and drive safely. Check it out today. Stop in and see these great folks with locations: Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland and Burley. The best of tires, the best of service. At your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, you stop in and see them today. Running a little bit late, but we're going to head for the news right now from CBS. We'll be back in 7. Don't go away. Oh, here we go. Hour number 2. Zeb at the Ranch on a really wet, soggy, muddy, messy. Wow, is it ever wet outside? Wednesday, October 10th. Holy buckets. And the buckets have got a hole in them. Anyhow, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big fall tire sale. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And they are helping you get back to being you. Right now, my old buddy Wheels. Can we hear from Western Waste Services?
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
I say it every day on the program, and it's true. All you need to do to get rid of your garbage is get on the route service, and once a week they'll be there right on time. I mean, man, you can set your watch by these folks. Get your garbage, it's gone. Wave goodbye to it as it goes on down the road. Absolutely, Western Waste Services. Call the number, get on the route service, 734-6969. They are always at your disposal. Don't forget to our friends with Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, and they just want to make your life more comfortable. All you have to do to maybe get a $1,600 rebate on qualifying equipment purchases, call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. Absolutely trying to make your life a lot more comfortable. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, and Ramsey Heating and Electric serving you for well over 60 years. Real quick, too, don't forget tomorrow on our program at 9:17, we have a segment with the Cassia Regional Hospital. We meet your friends and neighbors that are dedicated medical experts and serving you at Cassia Regional Hospital. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning at 9:17 for Cassia Regional Hospital, quality care close to home. I have not had this gentleman on as much this year as I wanted to because I absolutely respect his knowledge about education on a national level. And his name is Kyle Olson with EAGnews.org. Kyle, good to have you back. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Zeb.
Kyle, tell me what's been going on in your world lately. We haven't had a chance to connect to get on the air lately. I mean, what's happening with you and your occupation?
Well, there's a lot going on. So I have produced a movie with Diamond and Silk called Dummycrats, which is coming out. It will be in theaters across the country October 15th, which is next Monday. And in that movie, we basically chronicle the hypocrisy and the lies from the Democrats. During production, we visited the Los Angeles district of Maxine Waters, the San Francisco district of Nancy Pelosi. I personally visited the border and went to a border wall construction zone. We visited Washington, D.C. We went a whole bunch of places to show Americans what's going on around the country, what progressive policies are doing to communities like San Francisco and Los Angeles, and what the Democrats have in store for the rest of America if they take the House back in November.
Wow. You know, I'm showing some ignorance here. I did not know that you were involved in this project. I did not know that you were in the finalization of this kind of a film. I am absolutely impressed, and I can't wait to see it. Now, tell us a little bit about how we, the consumer, can observe what you've done.
Sure. So you can go to dummycratsthemovie.com, and there you can see the trailer. You can get ticket information. It's going to be in hundreds of theaters across the country. At this point, one night only, October 15th, which is next Monday. And it's a different kind of movie. I love Dinesh D'Souza's movies, and I'm not in no way trying to criticize him, but they are very professorial, very heady. Where this movie is certainly making a point that people should think about, but it's done with humor. We're poking fun at Hillary Clinton and Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and all the rest of them. And there's ridicule, and we interviewed Michelle Root, whose daughter Sarah was killed by an illegal alien in Nebraska. And there's I think it's making a very compelling case for why the Democrats should not be put back in charge in the next couple weeks.
Kyle, if I may, and I'm certainly not trying to take away any time talking about your film, but I want to throw something that might be an addition to what you're doing. In the first hour this morning of my program, I took a survey of women callers only, and here's why. Yesterday on The Five, black commentator Juan Williams made this statement. He said that there is overwhelming numbers of women against the Brett Kavanaugh appointment to the Supreme Court. And I listened to him say that, and I took offense at that because I wanted to check with my audience and find out the percentages that were in favor of Brett Kavanaugh or against Brett Kavanaugh. In the first hour of my program that just finished up prior to you coming on the air, we had 14 callers in 45 minutes, and besides their vote, they also explained why. Not one of them was against Brett Kavanaugh. And I'm sick and tired of the liberal lying that takes place in this country to inflate the numbers for their side. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Absolutely. In fact, there was a poll, I can't remember who did the poll, but there was a poll, and it focused on independents and what independents thought of that whole process, and they overwhelmingly, double digits, believed that Kavanaugh was treated unfairly, and that the whole process, not the process, but the role that the Democrats played in trying to subvert the process was very unfair and ridiculous. And I think it was so blatantly obvious. I mean, I think it was obvious before, but it was blatantly obvious that that was the case when the Democrats were demanding an FBI investigation. And then when the FBI did investigate and came back with nothing, because, of course, nothing was there, then they were unhappy that it wasn't a complete investigation. Well, that just revealed that all they wanted to do was delay, gum up the works, complain, and ultimately attempt to not have him on the court, which obviously they failed in that.
I do not say or do anything on my program unless I can verify it. I have talked to members of law enforcement on a nationwide level, and I'm not going to reveal some of the people I've talked to back in Washington, D.C. and also New York regarding this. But when these accusations came out against Brett Kavanaugh, and after the supposed 6 FBI probes into his life before he was even thought about being on the Supreme Court, I laugh at these people that say the 7th investigation wasn't thorough enough. That's ridiculously stupid.
Well, and what I didn't understand was why would the Democrats demand an investigation that they ultimately don't have control over? Because then it's just setting themselves up to complain about the result.
Right.
But of course, like I said, all they wanted to do was attack him. They wanted to take accusations and then run them through the media and then turn them into facts. And because suddenly he went from an assaultant, whatever it is, to suddenly he was a rapist.
Yeah.
And it was just what they were trying to do to him was absolutely appalling. And I think it's got a lot of people fired up because what he was being accused of are very serious accusations. And it just seems to me that if someone is going to be accused of something like that, there needs to be some sort of evidence and not just someone with a story. Because what was interesting about that, too, was that not only was there no evidence, but when these witnesses were supposedly named, how many of them said, I don't know what you're talking about, I've never met him before? I mean, they all denied it.
Yeah.
So how can that suddenly turn into this man is guilty? And to see these senators that were on the committee, Hirano and the guy from Connecticut and, all these other people say, well, it's up to him to prove his innocence.
Yeah.
That's not the way it works. I know this is not a court of law, but that's not the way it works in America.
Well,
and federal judges and anybody else should have more respect, be treated with more respect, and have more dignity than that.
Absolutely.
But apparently that's where the Democrats are trying to take America. Hillary, I think, acknowledged that yesterday when she made her comments about, we shouldn't be treating them with civility. So they want to amp up the rhetoric and probably the violence leading up to November and beyond.
All I'm going to say about that Senate Judiciary Committee, what a bunch of charlatans. Richard Blumenthal, the one you were talking about from Connecticut, lied about his service in Vietnam. Then we had Cory Booker from New Jersey. Oh, yeah, by the way, there were charges of assault and battery against him. Then we had another gentleman that had beat his wife. These people are calling the kettle black? Are you kidding me? Right. I was absolutely outraged as to their personalities and what they have done, and they're calling Brett Kavanaugh a rapist. This got completely out of hand.
That's right. And they have no shame. And you had Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, basically competing for the spotlight. Who could be more outrageous? Who could generate more email addresses for their email list, and who can generate more contributions for the presidential campaign? There's just so much going on under the surface that clearly, and I think Lindsey Graham really sort of touched on this, on how he supported Obama nominees because he thought they were qualified.
Yeah.
I don't think he agreed with them. And he took a lot of heat from conservatives for supporting those nominees, but he had a standard where he said, is this person qualified or not? And the Democrats clearly are playing a very different game. They don't care if Brett Kavanaugh is qualified. They don't care that he's been he's been a federal judge for 12 years. They don't care about any of that. What they believe is that this person should not be on the court, and we're going to destroy him by any means necessary. And for them to come out and say, well, Trump should pull this nominee, and there's a list of other other candidates that have been endorsed by the Heritage Foundation and the Federal Society, whoever else, for them to actually come out and say that with a straight face. The bottom line is, no nominee that Donald Trump is going to bring forth is going to be supported by the Democrats.
That's right. That's right.
It doesn't matter who it is. And so for them to play this game, I think is absolutely outrageous. But to me, what was the difference here was that I believe so many other Republican presidents and leaders would have pulled Kavanaugh in the midst of all of that. And Trump said, no, there's nothing wrong here, and we are plowing forward. And look what happened.
Absolutely.
He was confirmed, and now he is Justice Kavanaugh.
Let me ask you this, and first of all, over at the station wheels, if you could increase the volume on the feed line to me just a little bit, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Kyle, what about your visits? You said you were in Maxine Waters' district. My attention was piqued when you said that, because here is a woman that absolutely is one of the most vile and repulsive women in politics or in general today, trying to stir up hatred and animus across our country and maybe even violence. What did you find out about her district, and how they perceive her? Please tell me that.
Sure. So we went to Inglewood, California, which is where her district is, and we interviewed constituents. And we met a number of people we met a couple people who supported her, but interestingly enough, overwhelmingly people opposed her. And then we went to her district office where Diamond and Silk had some questions that they wanted answered. The staff there threatened to call the police, which is interesting because Maxine Waters loves to attack the police, but yet she hides behind the police. And from there, we wanted to do a shot outside her home, because what's significant about that is, one, she doesn't live in the district, but two, she lives in this beautiful neighborhood. She lives in a 6,000 square foot, $4.3 million mansion, and we wanted to contrast her district, which is nowhere like that, with this community that she's living in. And so we pulled up across the street. We were going to do this shot across the street, standing on a public sidewalk. And just as this happened, I'm sort of giving part of the movie away here, but as that happened, her grandson, who was her chief of staff during the banking scandal, you remember she had ethics charges brought against her in 2012, I believe it was. He was the chief of staff. He came out of the house, demanded to know who we were, even though we were minding our own business. We were not engaging with him. We were on the other side of the street. Demanded to know who we were, and we would not tell him who we were, and he called the police. And so that was the second instance where they attempted to hide behind the police. But in the movie, we go way back. She was elected first to the House of Representatives in 1990. We go way back to the beginning of her career in the House, 1992, 1993, 1994. We go back to the Rodney King riots and what happened in her district, and we contrast that with what's happening today. And lo and behold, nothing is different. She talks the same as she did in 1992. The crime is the same. The poverty is the same. Nothing has changed. And yet she keeps getting reelected. I don't know why. That would be a question for her voters. But it's a story that I don't think a lot of people have heard, and it goes way back. And for example, we have video of her. I believe it was 1993, where she is sitting next to Louis Farrakhan.
Oh boy!
At a conference, and they're both speaking at this conference. And so we really try and show people, we try and remind people who Maxine Waters is. So she's not just this clown on MSNBC talking about impeachment every other day. She's been doing this for a long time. And it's interesting because in that segment of the movie, we set it up with an interview that she did in the early 2000s with a YouTube, someone who has a YouTube channel, and she was very emphatic that she is not an entertainer. She doesn't play to entertainers. She doesn't play to a crowd. She is in the Congress to do her work, to serve her constituents, and then we disprove that whole statement that she made.
Absolutely. Kyle, I'm not sure how to phrase this next question, so bear with me. But when you were putting together the different ideas and thoughts on how to assemble this movie called Dummycrats, pardon me, when you sat down and started analyzing everything and doing some of the actual interrogating and interviews, etc., what did you learn about the Democratic Party and the transition of the Democratic Party to now almost socialism? What did you learn that scared you that you didn't know before?
Well, I'll use San Francisco as an example. So probably a month ago, we went to San Francisco because we wanted to highlight. There have been a handful of stories recently about the poop patrols in San Francisco.
Right.
And these are people who are city employees. Their total compensation between their pay and their benefits and retirement and all of that is $185,000 a year. So very expensive people. And their job is to go out and power wash the sidewalks and power wash the human poop off the sidewalks.
Oh, my.
And I thought, so we thought, how bad can this really be? And so we decided to go. Now, the last time I was in San Francisco, I stayed in the Market area, Market Street, if your listeners are familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed there probably in 2012, and we stayed in the same neighborhood this year, and it was vastly different. I guess you could call it the quality of life has significantly declined. And so in this scene in the movie, we sort of say, well, how long is it going to take to find a poop patrol? And how long is it going to take us to literally find poop on the sidewalk? And we went about 2 blocks.
Oh, my.
And we found it everywhere. And in the movie, Diamond and Silk interview a member of the poop patrol. They interview locals. And what was interesting about that is that we had people coming up to us. Typically, in these sorts of movies, you schedule interviews and you interview people. We actually had, as we were on the street, we had people coming up to us, complaining about their taxes, complaining about the conditions, complaining about how illegal aliens are treated better than American citizens, better than the homeless, etc. So it's such an indictment, I think, on liberal mentality, the liberal mentality, and they think, well, if we don't require people to stay in shelters, if we just let them sleep on the street, if we don't provide them with, bathrooms, etc., this is what you get. And so I think what we're trying to illustrate is that if liberal policies are able to spread across the country, and these sorts of ideas are able to really take root, these sorts of conditions are going to come to a community near you.
Let me ask you this. I'm out of time in this segment, but Kyle, I had no idea about this film. I'm absolutely adamant that I'm going to urge my listeners to check on it, dummycratsthemovie.com. Would you consent to coming back on the air next week in the early portion of the week so we could do a follow-up on this story, because I still have a lot more questions. Does your calendar permit you to come back next week?
Sure. We're doing a premiere in D.C. on Monday. The movie is Monday night, so we could do, if you want to do it before the movie, it'd have to be Monday. Otherwise, we could do another day. Sure.
I'll tell you what, I'm doing this right on the air so that the public knows exactly how I do my business. I would like to arrange this for a 9:30 segment next Monday, and we'll call you at this number. Is that all right?
Sure. That works.
I can't thank you enough. And ladies and gentlemen, put this down on a piece of paper. The movie Dummycrats, themovie.com. Kyle Olson, thank you. God bless you. And I appreciate your time. And I'll call you then on next Tuesday. Or Monday, pardon me. Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
All right, take care. Wow. I've got to make a note right now because we're doing this live on the air right now. I'm booking him for next Monday at 9:30. Got it. And we will call him and do a follow-up on the movie that's going to premiere in Washington, D.C. next Monday. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you very much, Kyle Olson. This movie sounds to me like something that we all need to see. This movie is truth. This movie is factual. I know Kyle, and anything he's involved in absolutely is going to be straight up, and it's going to be above board all the time. And we'll have more with him on the subject next Monday at 9:30. Wow. I want to remind you about our friends. I've got to take care of paying some bills right now, and we've got another guest that's scheduled in just a very few moments. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street Interconnection Credit Union in Heyburn. And this great veterinary hospital has been chosen as Minnecache's best on numerous years. Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, the whole staff, they really care about the health of your animals. Whether you got an itty-bitty kitty cat or you got a great big herd of dairy cattle, they're going to take care and make sure everything stays healthy. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn. The number to call, 678-1177. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Ark Animal Hospital. We also want to say a great big thank you, and I don't get this man on the air enough to really let him talk about subjects that you and I sometimes just don't want to talk about. We shy away from. And that's death, dying, and what needs to be done. We all should be in charge. We all need to get the information about the passing away, our funerals, etc., and a pre-planning procedure so that all our family, they can really appreciate that the stress and the worry will be somewhat alleviated. I'll guarantee you they can help at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, serving you always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to call 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Really, really good people. Real quick, one more note. I know I'm running a little bit late, and my next guest probably saying, well, come on, Zeb, hurry up. I want to tell everybody about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And it's proven, last couple of days with rain shower after rain shower after rain shower, we're spending more time inside. Don't forget they've got all the window coverings, and they've got all the carpet and the luxury vinyl flooring, and they've got all the great furniture to comfortize your home. Absolutely all the recliners, everything. I urge you to talk to the professionals, and that's Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They're located at 459 Overland in Burley. Stop in and see them today. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Let's go to the phone line right now. My goodness, I owe this gentleman an apology. I'm running a little bit behind this morning, and I'm going to say good morning to the author of the book called In Good Faith, Questioning Religion and Atheism. Scott Shea, good morning, sir. How are you?
Zeb, I am great, and I am really happy to be on your show. You've even become known here on the East Coast. You're a real icon.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for your kind remarks, and I'm glad to have you on the air. And I got to tell you, Scott, when I read a little bit of the synopsis about your book, it raised my eyebrows and piqued my interest. And I'm going to say this up front. I am a devout Christian and have a lot of faith. And when I read the bio on this and the synopsis of the book, I had a question mark go across the brow of my forehead saying, I've got to find out more about what your thoughts are. Give us a synopsis of this book.
So here's a synopsis. Here it is in a nutshell. My book comes to explain why it's rational to believe in God in the modern era with all we know about science, the historicity of the Bible, and our sense of modern morality, and why the Bible's core messages are as relevant as ever in today's world. And that's something that is not apparent to much of the modern Western population. So what I try to do in the book is answer people's 6 major questions. So I read all of the major atheists. I read Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, Daniel Dennett, Sam Harris, Yuval Harari, and the like. And I carefully read what do they say what are the reasons they say not to believe in God. And so what I did is I created a book that answered by and large those questions. And I think one, if not the most important message of my book, is I explain to people what the Bible came to do, which is to overturn idolatry. We thought that we licked idolatry 3,800 years ago with the god King Pharaoh. But in reality, what idolatry is, and the Bible is pretty clear about it, idolatry is a set of lies about power. It's ascribing super power or super authority to finite beings, people, and elements. And we thought we looked at God, King Pharaoh, and looked at idolatry 3,800 years ago, but in the 20th century, Mao asked 30 million people, told them to march to their death, and they did it. Why? Because Mao said to. Hitler ordered, sadly, and we can get into this a little bit later, in some of my background, being a child of a Holocaust survivor, but he ordered the Jews killed and other people killed, and people did it. Stalin sent tens of millions of people to the Gulag, and people did it. They knew what they were doing. He essentially ordered a quarter of the population of the Ukraine to starve to death, and people did it. So we are plagued by idolatry. I mean, we were plagued in the 20th century, and we're plagued today. And people don't get that anymore. And that's what my book is coming to say, is we need to go back to the biblical messages, understand what idolatry is, because if we don't, that's when the real horror show starts.
You know, I can't wait to read this book. And I'll tell you something, Scott, I don't say that to everybody that's an author on this program. But when you were doing the research for this book in good faith, what did you find that was kind of a correlation between the atheists that you interviewed? What are they so afraid of? What are they so fearing of religion? What's the number one thing that they don't understand or they're afraid of in organized Christianity?
The number one thing that they're afraid, that they don't get, I don't even want to say afraid of, but the number one thing that they don't get is the problem of why evil is on this earth. Why is there evil? Why is there evil between men and men? And, you know, sadly, why is there natural evil? And you know, why do volcanoes explode and kill people? Why is there disease? You know, I mean, you frankly experienced, and you know that's part of your fame, is you experienced and you've dealt with and grappled with, you know, natural evil. Why is there cancer? Why is there polio? And they don't get it, and they're angry. They're angry at that. And you can either have a reaction that then there can't be a God, or, and if you'll let me digress just a moment.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you the story for what motivated me to write this book.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a Holocaust survivor. He was a young man in Speksner, Lithuania, when the Nazis came and they gathered up all the Jews, and the surrounding Lithuanians, where they were presumably Christians themselves, watched the deportation And my father's father was murdered on the spot. And then my father was deported as slave labor, and then ultimately ended up in the concentration camps. And when he had the good fortune for the American army to liberate him, he was 60 pounds, and he spent a year in an American hospital, which is one of the reasons he passed away. But he was a great patriot and loved this country, because no other country would have nursed him back to health. I mean, he was 60 pounds. He was probably a week from death had he not been liberated.
Oh, my goodness.
And he knew. He ended up in Chicago, and I don't want to take the whole time to tell his story because it is an amazing story. But he ended up in Chicago, and he knew that he got there by a very narrow path. I mean, so many other things could have happened that would have resulted in his death. It would have been so simple. So when he got to Chicago, he was angry at God. Now, my father had no doubt that there was a God and that there is a God. He had no doubt about that whatsoever, because he knew that was the only way that he survived. That's the only way he ended up in Chicago. That's the only way he married his mother, and that's the only way he had a child himself. But he wasn't talking to God. And I don't think there was any uncertainty on either side of that relationship. I think God recognized that my father had a clear right to be. His siblings were killed. His own father was killed. My closest relative is a second cousin. I mean, the family was decimated, and I think a second cousin once removed even. And so that's one way to deal with natural evil, is to recognize there's a God, to grapple with it. What the atheists do is they say evil means that there can't be an omnibenevolent God. And, on that side, I get why, I get their concern, but they don't delve into it more deeply. They don't understand. They really don't take I don't want to say they don't take the time, but they stop there. They just say, okay, that's the game over. Evil exists, therefore no God. And obviously that's way too simplistic, but that's where they end up.
Right.
And I'll just say one more thing about atheists. I found there's two kinds of atheists. There's the Machiavellian atheists who turn themselves into God, and then there are golden rule atheists who are much better, who recognize that one shouldn't do unto others what you wouldn't want done unto themselves, or what they wouldn't want done unto themselves. And those atheists, I think we can actually make common cause with.
Scott, let me ask you this part of the equation, and you probably have this in your book. But when you look back to your parents' history, the Holocaust, surviving that, a regime that hated God, hated Christianity, burned Bibles, and you step forward to today, where we're seeing the same thing repeat itself: hate God, hate Christians, get rid of the Bible. And we see a party, the Democratic Party, that is basically leaning towards a socialistic and even communistic approach, and a hating of God and no respect for the church or Christianity. Are we going to repeat, in your opinion, the same thing that happened 70 plus years ago?
Well, look, on the predicate of that question, I'd say, I don't want to speak politics, because I don't feel like that's something I really know enough about to really be an expert. What I focus on is idolatry, and unfortunately, I have to say, historically, there's been idolatry on the left and on the right. That changes at different times. I mean, in different times, idolatry manifests itself on the right, as it unfortunately did with Hitler. And at times it manifests itself on the left, as it did with Stalin, as it did with Mao. And I think that the key that anybody, anywhere, on any party should ask is is, have we created an idol? Is our ideology essentially an idol? Do we believe that every human being has a divine spark? I am thoroughly against banning religion. I think that if we ban religion, we're going to get idolatry.
Right.
If you're asking me that question, I'm against anybody who wants to ban religion. I'm against anybody who doesn't want to allow the free expression of religion. I talked to one atheist who said to me that religious people should be put in cages because they're dangerous to others. I couldn't believe such a thing came out of someone's mouth. So there are atheists who, yes, hate religion. But what I tried to do in my book, because I think there's enough of us in this country talking to only our own side, what I tried to do is write a book that everybody could read and that someone could send to their friend who's an atheist. Because unlike the atheist books, I don't mock. Atheist books basically mock believers. I don't mock anybody. I want to have a conversation. It should be civil, and I want this to be, sort of the Christmas present to your non-believing friend or your child or niece that is going off to college.
I love that. I love that.
What a number of people have told me it is for them.
Let me ask you one final thought. When I read the book, and my listeners buy the book and read the book, what is the last thing you want the reader to remember when they close the cover on the last chapter?
That the most important thing is prayer. That prayer needs to be understood in a very deep level. Prayer, to me, is about figuring out what needs to be done in the world, which is a lot of things, and then looking sharply at ourselves with complete honesty, with tremendous light, a light so sharp that we might squint in our own self-assessment, and then figure out what we can do as part of what needs to be done in the world. We need to put ourselves in that intersection. How can we make a difference in the world? And if we figure out the right place, God will provide us with a tailwind. God will help us. But prayer is not a cosmic vending machine. Prayer is first self-judgment. It's self-assessment. And then figuring out what we can do. Too often, we tell ourselves comforting stories that allow us to avoid what we need to do. And too many of us by middle age are and I'll include myself, are fugitives from our own consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want people to do when they close this book is to think about monotheism, to think about God, to think about what God put them on earth to do, because they're capable of it. I don't know what it is. It's different for every person. We all have a spark of God, but it's different for each and every one of us. And if they really look really, really hard and they say, God, this is what I need to do. I'm making these changes in my life. I'm doing these things. And you're in that cosmic, you suggest a plan to God that makes the world a better place. I really believe with all my heart that you'll find yourself having a positive tailwind. You'll find things happen that might be improbable, but that they do happen.
Absolutely.
They happen in the real world. They're not bolts from lightning. They're things that happen that help you. And please God that readers of my book will come away with that message. And if they just have that message, the whole 5 years of writing it was worthwhile.
Absolutely. Scott, quickly tell everyone in my audience where the book can be obtained.
So the book is available on Amazon. It's available at Barnes & Noble. It's available at you can ask, some religious bookstores have it. and some independent stores have it, but the book has, thank God, been selling pretty well, so it's pretty broadly available. The easiest place to get it is on Amazon, and my name is S-H-A-Y, Scott Shea, and In Good Faith, and many blessings, and I just do want to say again, it's a privilege to be on this show.
No, the privilege is all mine because I really appreciate and respect what you've done in this book, and I can't wait to get a copy. Scott Shea, God bless you, and I mean that in good faith. Questioning Religion and Atheism, I'll get a copy today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, sir. This book is absolutely one of the must-reads on my list. I can't wait to get a copy of this, and I urge you to check it out. In Good Faith, Questioning Religion and Atheism, written by Scott Shea. A very, very interesting man. Okay, we've got to get a weather forecast on here quickly, and I'm way behind. The weather is brought to you this hour by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years, with the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, payroll services, retirement planning. The list goes on as to how they can help you, your family, and your business. With offices in Burley and Rupert, don't forget the professionals, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. And right now, here's the weather.
Expect more rain showers for today and maybe even tonight, but maybe some sunshine for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Yes, rain showers expected off and on throughout the entirety of today. Mostly cloudy skies. On the breezy side as well, gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 47 tonight. Those rain showers are going to continue. Hopefully they're going to taper off in the overnight hours. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 33. We do have a slight chance of rain showers for Thursday, partly sunny by the afternoon. Expecting a high of 51, mostly clear, and 28 for Thursday night. As we head on into the weekend, by Friday, going to see some sunshine, high of 56 with an overnight low of 30. Saturday, sunny and 54, and for Sunday, sunny and 47. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by our friends at Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. As I said, the best of accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. They can and they will help you. Don't forget, offices in Burley and Rupert, Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. Want to also remind you, too, about our friends over at Let's Ride. Yeah, buddy, get out and enjoy the beauty of southern Idaho. My goodness, yes, they've got all the four-wheelers. They've got all the snowmobiles. My goodness sakes, they've got all the accessories. They've got a phenomenal service department to keep you running at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, open Saturdays 9 to 4. Oh, get over there. Enjoy life. Yep, this is where the fun is sold. Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Really, really good people. I've got time for a couple of calls. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Yep, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this with dedicated and accessible and devoted people serving you. All you need to do, the only thing you need to do is just pick up the phone and make an appointment at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Caller, thank you for your time and your effort. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb. I got a message for you to give for your listeners.
Okay, real quick, go ahead.
That is, okay, here we go. I am bringing a special guest with me to the lunch bunch.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's more or less for my protection against Jerry and Doug. You know, that might be a danger zone. But anyway, I want to invite everybody to come. This is going to be an exciting thing, don't you think?
It's going to be our October Halloween party at Denny's Restaurant on October 25th. Costume party, prizes to the top costumes and masks. And I'm running a little late, Keith, but I know you're going to do something special. I can feel it in my bones.
Oh, it's so wonderful. It's going to be a wonderful thing, and let's make this the biggest event of the year.
There you go, my friend. Thank you. God bless you for your call. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead quickly, please.
Really quick. I don't think the Kavanaugh investigation went far enough because they didn't ask forward. Who did you ask for permission to use your bathroom and where was that? Where is it? If the boys pushed her from the back into the bedroom, that means she was facing the bedroom, not the bathroom. The other question is, did she have braces on? Did it bruise her mouth if she was scared to death for her life? That hand was on her mouth. Braces or no braces? Did it bruise her mouth? Because if somebody's pushing on your mouth so hard, did she fight? Did she try to knee the guy? Whatever.
You bring up some really valid points of interest as to the attempted assault, etc., which I thought some of the allegations and some of the answers to those allegations were absolutely phony and fraudulent. I wished I had more time to get into this, but I'm going to put you down on my list that it sounds like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that you are absolutely in favor of the Brett Kavanaugh nomination.
I didn't believe her not 1 second, and I don't think she was really creditable. She was coached 1,000%.
Thank you for your call this morning. God bless you, and thanks again.
God bless you.
All right, sir. Ma'am, thank you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, please forgive me. I really want to thank all the ladies in the audience this morning that participated in the first hour. And for some, it was absolutely, I'm sure, very emotional and trying, and I do appreciate it, but we wanted to dispel the comments that were made yesterday on Fox News program called The Five, where black commentator and liberal commentator Juan Williams had made the statement that overwhelming numbers of women were against Brett Kavanaugh's nomination. We found out this morning on our survey right here on this program, that's a lie. Every single one of the women that called in this morning, and I thank you again for your time, were in favor of Kavanaugh's nomination and position to the Supreme Court. And I'm a little sick and tired of the liberalness in the media, which shows right here with Juan Williams a lying statement that overwhelming numbers of women were against Kavanaugh. It doesn't hold water. Coming up next hour, we're going to talk more about this Kavanaugh situation on the Supreme Court now, and we're going to be talking to attorney Cynthia Garrett. And then at 10:30, do not miss 10:30. We have Norman Rogers, that wrote a book about wind and solar energy called Dumb Energy. Can't wait to get him on the air. So, with that being said, we're going to take a little break for about 7 minutes, turn it back over to Wheels at the main studios. We'll be back. Don't you go away. Oh, good morning. It is wet outside, as I repeat myself many times. Absolutely rainy weather. We haven't had rain basically since the month of June, and whoo, have they been storing it up for us, I'll tell you. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with a great big fall tire sale. And then, of course, don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. I want to mention a couple of great people before I get my guest on the air. Stand by, please. I want to thank again our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley with Lennox products that can help keep you comfortable. And don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering up to $1,600 in rebates on qualifying equipment purchases, and you can check it out for you and your home. Call them at 678-0459. And don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Ramsey's, of course, in business over 60 years, serving you at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And another great business that's been serving you for a long, long time and recently expanded, doing a job that I don't want to do. You don't want to do. They pump out those septic tanks and they clean out the sewer and sink drain lines. Ooh. And all the liquid waste removal, septic inspections, all of this and so much more for you. Dino Septic Service, as I said, recently expanded to better serve all the valley. And don't forget, they're urging you for any pumping that needs to be done, do it before the ground freezes. Absolutely get a hold of them today with the numbers 436-6526. Or in Burley, 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service, and they'll pull into your yard with that big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Right now, let's go to our next guest, and we're very happy to have her with us this morning, attorney Cynthia Garrett. Good morning, Cynthia. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning to you, and thank you for having me.
What part of California are you in, Cynthia?
I live in San Diego, but right now I'm in Philadelphia for some conferences.
Well, I'm very appreciative to have you on the air, and I believe that we're going to be talking this morning about the Brett Kavanaugh nomination and position on the Supreme Court and all the hubbub, everything that has gone on over the last couple of weeks. In general, give us a thumbnail sketch of what you thought about the hearings and the final appointment of Brett Kavanaugh.
Well, to start with, my issue has been with the campus Title IX sexual misconduct allegations, and this has been going on for, probably 10 years, and
yes,
I've been involved with it for 4 or 5 years, so I wasn't surprised by it because we see this on campus all the time. We have 1,000 students and families that have come to us with exactly Brett Kavanaugh's experience. So knowing that foundation and the fact that I'm not really surprised, it was very frustrating to watch because we have these families that we have were traumatized by watching this. It was as though they were reliving their students' experiences through Brett Kavanaugh, where, there's only an allegation, and of course campus ideologues think they're all true. So it was very frustrating. I felt personally that the Democrats were completely out of line. I was very embarrassed by Dianne Feinstein's conduct, and there were a couple others that I was very frustrated with. I think the fact that they keep saying that, it was inappropriate for him to be angry shows a lack of insight into what it's like to be falsely accused.
That's right.
I completely understood his feelings, and it's very frustrating. I'm glad it happened the way it did because otherwise his life would have been over.
Let me ask you this, and there's so many questions I have for you this morning, Cynthia, so bear with me, please. But let's start with the allegations. Let's start with the accusations. In the 11th hour of Kavanaugh's nomination hearings, all through the other 6 FBI probes into his background while he was in judgeship over other various courts, they didn't find anything. And then all of a sudden in the 11th hour, the Democrats, proud as peacocks, stepped up and said, well, we have this from Ms. Ford. We have this from Ms. Martinez. We have this from Ms. Swetnick. Why and how did all of this come out of the woodwork all of a sudden in the 11th hour?
Oh, people were scouring for these allegations, I can guarantee you. And I I saw a video this morning by Janet Flamingo, who does a lot on this issue, and she had looked into the Palo Alto University that Ford where Ford teaches, and found out that it's primarily a psychology college, and that it's very elite, very left-leaning. In fact, 79% of the students are women. And that's like that's a bad sign on this issue, because obviously much of this is being pursued by college women. So I'm not saying she's lying. I think she probably believes most or all of what she said, but I have done extensive research on the fallibility of men's memory, especially with respect to traumatic events. And I know that over the years, particularly, there's a lot of information that gets adopted into the memory, and the person still may believe that that's part of the memory, but what they're believing is the last time they remembered it, not the original memory. So I think she was a 15-year-old. She was probably intoxicated for the first time. If this happened, and if it was Brett Kavanaugh, which I doubt, these two 17-year-olds come in and scared her, laughing uproariously. Rapists don't laugh uproariously, in my experience, and then, they left. But in her mind, that was frightening, and maybe justifiably so. I don't really know, but I think from there she has thought about it over the years. Especially therapy is known to be a very dangerous time or a dangerous influence on people's memories.
Cynthia, where are we in our society? And when I ask that question, I'm going to back up a little bit and say, men can't be men anymore. Men can't be the leaders. Men on dates, they're running a risk of having these things happen. We saw what happened to the Duke lacrosse team. False allegations destroyed their lives. It's happened to many others. But what about the respect, the common respect between men and women, but the dating scene, the going out with someone, maybe eventually if you like that person, go back again and again and again, eventually maybe to get married. My goodness, this is going to throw a monkey wrench into anything that's a state of normalcy for years to come.
Yeah, I know a lot of our families tell their students not to date women on campus because they're afraid. But, the problem is it's segued into the business world and now into politics. So I don't think anybody's really safe anymore, especially when their interpretations of what is an assault have broadened so incredibly. I mean, to call what happened, even as she described it, a sexual assault, to me was a little bit on the overbroad side because, nobody, I don't know. I think it was mostly her fear that thought the way it happened, if it happened. But nobody was trying to rape her. People don't laugh uproariously when they're trying to rape somebody. I'm sorry. It just makes no sense.
Let me ask you this.
Dangerous.
Let's discard for a moment Ms. Ford and her testimony. And I've come out on my program already and said that I thought she was very flaky, very nervous, very unknowing of the facts. I didn't give much credence to her testimony. But let's go to the other end of the spectrum. And I thought it was sleazy. I thought it was low class what Ms. Swetnick did through her creepy attorney. What about the variances and the allegations?
Well, I think the other two allegations are completely false. First of all, the one that alleges that there were gang rapes every week or whatever at Yale, and why would a woman go back every week to these gang rapes or be a victim? And secondly, she doesn't even know for sure if Kavanaugh was there. And then the other allegation was that he exposed himself to somebody, and she at first wasn't sure. And again, this whole thing about memory comes in because she's not sure, so she thought about it for 5 days. Well, that 5 days is a prime example of how memory gets distorted. Now, let me think if I can remember. Was he there? I don't know. He might have been. Well, yeah, I think he was there. I mean, that's how it goes. It's crazy. So you can't rely on somebody's recently reconstructed memory of something 36 years ago.
This morning, I ran a survey this morning in the first hour of my program, Cynthia, and I'll tell you why I had this survey, and it was for women only to call. Yesterday, on the Fox TV show in the afternoon called The Five, black commentator, liberal commentator Juan Williams made the statement that overwhelming numbers of women were against the Brett Kavanaugh appointment to the Supreme Court. In the first hour of my program this morning, in just 45 minutes, I had 15 callers, and they stated their reasoning and possibly what could have happened to them. And all the callers, all 15 in 45 minutes, said that they were absolutely in favor of Brett Kavanaugh. That tells me when you have a very liberal statement on the air yesterday on a national broadcast, overwhelming numbers of women against Brett Kavanaugh does not hold water.
I agree with you completely, and I think they're fooling themselves because their tactics are to scream and yell and shame and silence people who disagree with them. I've seen this on social media. I'm in this group of women lawyers where anybody said anything that was at all pro-Kavanaugh, they were berated and chastised. So they formed their own group. There's a subgroup for women who maybe aren't exactly, in that category. But they're fooling themselves because they think that they can silence people, they can badger them into agreeing. But what they're doing is they're silencing people who don't believe what they believe, and these people are becoming angry, and that includes women. I have seen many women now, and we have women contacting us saying this is not okay, but they are fooling themselves because they think just because they're making more noise that somehow that's going to play out in the midterms, and I beg to differ. I don't think it will.
Cynthia, as a lawyer, you must have really cringed when you started hearing that an accusation is made against someone, and that someone, and in this story it happened to be Brett Kavanaugh, then after that accusation had to prove their innocence. Boy, when I heard that for the first time, I was fighting mad, because this country has based its judicial system on you're innocent until proven guilty. This is a leftist way of turning our judicial system, I think, completely upside down. Your thoughts?
Well, definitely. I think that the presumption of innocence is in danger. They continually want to chip away at potential defenses that an accused student or adult has. And, in fact, the criminal laws they're trying to change. They have these affirmative consent policies on campus, which basically says if two parties are drunk, the male has to determine whether the female's too drunk, and if he doesn't, he gets expelled because his drunkenness is not a defense. And then, the whole thing is completely warped. And now they have these what's so-called trauma-informed policies, I call them myths, where they say that, that accuser lied. Well, that's typical victim behavior to lie. Or that accuser continued to sleep with this guy for another year, few months, whatever it was. But that's typical victim behavior because they don't know their victim. Everything that a victim does is counterintuitive, typical victim behavior. And on campus, that's taken hold. And so if a guy says, well, wait a minute, she slept with me, she looked happy, she was dating me. Oh, no, that's because she was a victim and she didn't realize she was a victim. So therefore, they ignore any evidence that's inconsistent with the allegations on the basis that is typical victim behavior.
Oh, my goodness.
And now, across our country, law enforcement is being trained on trauma-informed policies which have no basis in actual science.
Let me ask you this. After Ms. Ford made her accusations, along with Ms. Martinez and along with Ms. Swetnick, what then? Now that these have been proven that they don't hold water, and especially Ms. Swetnick probably trying to get her 15 minutes of fame, what about retribution for the accused in coming back and suing the accusers for false allegations and defamation of character? Is there such a thing like this happening or not?
It's very difficult to prove defamation. There's probably 300 lawsuits now by accused students in the campus arena. And it's very difficult. If they survive, it usually has to do with something the school did improperly, as in not providing due process or fair procedures. Even California decisions, though, there was one that came out yesterday by University of California at Santa Barbara, where the court actually said, here's an institution that supposedly teaches fairness and all of the, ideas about history and government, and they strayed so far from the principles that underline our democracy. This is honestly a California appellate court decision.
Oh, my goodness.
Even California courts are beginning to realize. But defamation is a very difficult thing to prove. Very difficult.
Cynthia, what would you want my audience, the moms and the dads that are listening right now, and they might have teenage sons and daughters, what message do you, as an attorney that works with this and understands this allegation and the sexual assault cases, what would you want them to know and understand for their teenage sons and daughters?
I don't care how well you've trained your boys not to rape or whatever it is they suggest. I don't care how nice these boys are. I don't care that they never did a thing wrong in their entire life. They are not safe in this environment.
Now, when you say they're not safe in this environment, what can we do to help maybe protect our sons and our daughters? I mean, is there a word of advice? Is there a book they can go to? Is there some kind of a YouTube film? I mean, my goodness, our society's coming apart at the seams.
Basic ideas like don't date anybody who's emotionally unstable, don't, needy, avoid any semblance of the radical feminist version. They have this thing called the power and control wheel. If anybody ever pulls that out, leave the room. Really there isn't a lot you can do other than increase awareness and support people in politics who are going to recognize that this is a problem. Because honestly, it's like this giant blob of information that's covering the United States, and started on campuses, and now it's gone into other arenas. And I wish I could say there was a way to protect your son, but I just don't know. I don't know what it is.
From where we are today, final thought on this. Final thought on this morning, Cynthia. From where we are right now, with these allegations, accusations, and the left saying, okay, now we've accused you, prove yourself innocent. If you look ahead 10 years and this problem isn't somehow corrected, where in the world are we going to be as a society trying to create families?
Well, it's interesting. Sometimes I wonder if when these young women grow up, they'll eventually want to get married. But I don't think anybody's going to want to marry them, so I don't know. I mean, there still are great guys out there, and there are still good, grounded women out there, and hopefully they'll find each other, and, who cares about the rest, right? I hope it doesn't keep going like this. This is a pendulum, I think, and it's got to swing back the other way because it's gone so far to one way that I can't believe it can sustain itself. Not if people speak up. Of course, if they all sit there and be, kowtowed by the people that are badgering them over their opinion, then maybe it will last. I don't know. People have to speak up. Brave. They have to speak with their votes.
Absolutely. Cynthia Garrett, attorney that is a sexual assault attorney, and I appreciate her time. She's in Philadelphia right now this morning. Cynthia, come back anytime. You're a real blessing to the program. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I'll tell you what, we live in some really troubled and sick times right now. And I reiterate, I want to thank, during the break I told my wife how appreciative I was and am of the people, the ladies, that called on the first hour of our program this morning. It just absolutely fortified what I thought about women that absolutely were in favor of Brett Kavanaugh, not just in favor of Brett Kavanaugh, but in favor of the way he's presented himself and conducted himself and the family and the situation of a man that has been a basketball coach, a youth coach, has worked in his church, worked in his community. And then to have these filthy allegations come out in the 11th hour by three women that, if you look at and study them, the body language, and listen to what they had to say, and the absolute holes in their verbiage, nonsensical. It was all nonsensical. And for Juan Williams to come out on television yesterday and say that overwhelming numbers of women are against Brett Kavanaugh, no, they're not. I'm sick of the lying. I'm sick of the media distortion of the facts. They get away with it every day. And on this program, I'm going to call them out. As I said earlier, I'm going to send personally my survey, my comments that happened on my program this morning back to Juan Williams. I know some of the people at Fox. I think it'll get to him. And I'm going to let him know I don't like liars in the media. I don't like distorters of the truth in the media. I want to say a big shout out to some really nice people that are really trying to help the seniors, and that's, of course, Syringa Plaza, a lovely and very affordable senior community in Burley, Idaho. And I'm going to tell you first and foremost right now the number that you can call and find out more information. That number is 208. I got to hang that prefix on there. You should know, but I'm going to stay it that way anyway. 208-677-4204. And they're located at 626 Elba Avenue in Burley. Syringa Plaza offers low-income seniors a great service of maintaining an independent living status right there at Syringa Plaza. I mean, you're basically, you've got a wonderful room, and you've got secure key code entry, and you've got in-house laundry facilities, you've got multi-purpose room for activities, you've got libraries, all of this and more, living in a very affordable senior community in Burley, Syringa Plaza. One more time, the number, 208-677-4204. And they're located at 626 Elba Avenue in Burley. Remember the name, Syringa Plaza. Oh, boy, we've had a busy, busy morning. Now, I got to tell you, I'm excited about having another man, another person come on the program and dispel all this global warming, climate change garbage, and all the people sitting there going, oh, we've got to have solar power. Oh, we've got to have wind energy. No, we don't. The next gentleman that's coming on the program wrote a book about solar and wind power, and the book is aptly titled Dumb Energy, a critique of wind and solar energy and why the left continues to believe in it. We're going to have Mr. Norman Rogers on the program in about 3 minutes. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studio. Don't you go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, boy, I got a bunch of things I got to take care of real quick, and I know Mr. Rogers is waiting on the phone, so stand by. Once again, I want to remind you the Bennett Boys Auction Service is going to have a really good sale this Saturday, October 13th, starting at 11 o'clock. The Walker and Jean Carr Estate Auction. It's located south of Twin Falls. From the Pay and Pack corner, go south 2 miles, then east on 3600. You'll see the signs. Don't forget to be there Saturday at 11 a.m. They're going to have tractors, trailers, farm equipment, shop tools, livestock items, lawn and garden items. Holy cow, the list goes on. Furniture and appliances, everything. This is going to be a quality sale. A quality sale. The Walker and Jean Carr Estate Auction this Saturday south of Twin Falls. Look look for the signs. Bennett Boys Auction Service managing this sale. There is no sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, yep, they sell them all. One last word also about the great big Halloween happenings at Four Paws Bed and Bath annual Halloween party. It's going to be on Saturday, October 20th from 11 to 2. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm telling you, dress your pets up in certain costumes, and there's going to be a big parade. There's going to be prizes. All of this for Halloween. Don't forget that. And free pictures with your pet. Great food. All of it at 370 West 200 South of Rupert. The number to call, Four Paws, for information about their big Halloween pet party is 438-4444. Right now, we're going to get really serious, and I'm going to just say that I've been looking forward to having this man on my program ever since I found out about the possibility of booking him and talking about his new book. And the book is called Dumb Energy. I couldn't agree more. It's a critique of wind and solar energy, and the author is Mr. Norman Rogers. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hi, Zeb.
Well, I got to tell you, I am absolutely excited about hearing about your book, and I got to get a copy of the book because you have summed up in your title exactly what I've said about wind and solar energy for the last I don't know how many years, dumb energy. Give us a thumbnail sketch of your book.
Well, wind and solar are dumb energy mainly because they're volatile. You know, the wind comes and goes, the sun sets every night. So you have to have a backup plant to step in whenever the wind or solar fails. And so you end up with two complete power plants that ends up costing a lot more money. The question is, why bother with the wind and solar? Just use the backup plant.
Well, I guess that's common sense, but right today, there is no common sense when it comes to energy when you've got the Al Gores and all the others that are claiming, oh, we're going to die, we're going to melt down if we don't do something about climate change. What's the message that you want people to take away from your book, Dumb Energy, and what are your hopes that if they read it, we might try to transition some of these people back to common sense?
Well, I think that it's a kind of a mixture of special interests and people who maybe don't know any better that are pushing the dumb energy. There's a lot of money to be had, okay? The utility companies are only too delighted to build double generating plants because their rate base depends on how much money they invest in plants. The more money they spend on plants, the more profits they make. And it's up to the public utility commissions to keep them from overbuilding. But because of all the propaganda in favor of green energy, the public utility commissions aren't doing their job.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. Over at the main studio, Wheels, you've got to turn him up a little bit. I can barely hear this gentleman. And please continue, sir. Go ahead.
Sure. The environmental groups, as you know, they're in the business of coming up with a new crisis every 5 or 10 years. That's what they need. That gives them public spotlight, gives them members, keeps them in business. So, you know, over the years you've heard all the different crises. You know, nuclear energy was going to kill us all. We're going to have the ozone layer was going to be destroyed. Coal was going to make all our children have allergies. And, of course, the granddaddy of them all is global warming.
You know, I wanted you to respond a little bit, if you would, sir, Mr. Rogers, in regards to former Vice President Al Gore. I didn't know that he was such a superior scientist with meteorological sciences, but he warned that the world is running out of time to stop catastrophic global warming. When you hear statements from fat Al Gore over global warming or climate change, certainly you must snicker a little bit, but it's beyond a laughing matter, is it not?
Well, it's made a lot of money for him. He's made $500 million with the global warming message. He's political. It's 100% political. He's not a scientist, and the science behind the global warming scare is really bad.
What would you tell people when you're sitting down, and I don't want to give away too much out of the book. I'm going to ask about where it can be obtained and everything in a few moments. But when you did the studies for the research of your book, and you found out that it's much more expensive, it needs backup systems, and the American public is being duped into doing this, what was the number one thing that you found out that you didn't know before you started the research?
Did I just hear a cow?
Yeah. When we have a telephone call on our program, it's Zeb at the Ranch. It's a cow, my friend.
I'm sitting in New York City right now. The number one thing on the energy is really the fact that you have to have backup plants. It completely kills the economics of the whole thing. And it's not very economic in this place. You know, if you believe in global warming, and I don't believe in global warming, I've spent a lot of time investigating it, but even the believers in global warming should not be in favor of the wind and solar energy, because it's just not an efficient way to prevent carbon dioxide entering the atmosphere. If they really believe in global warming, they should be going for nuclear power. And actually, some of them are going for nuclear power now.
I agree. We'll take this call with a question for you, sir. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air, please.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, we subsidize wind at $52 a kilowatt hour or something to that effect. You know, I make it a point to learn and know, but you see, there's so much going on, so much misinformation that you have to find out what is true, because just because it's on your device doesn't mean that it's true. But there's so many people that never go any farther than just the superficial information, a suggestion, a statement, and they just go with it, and they don't know any better. And you say, well, you wrote a book, and it talks about it. Well, how many young people, millennials, are going to read your book? And I wish, millions upon millions were reading it, because they need to know better. But you see, in our society, the ADHD society, nobody ever takes the time to learn nothing. And, even if we could solve global warming, solving it, the solutions they have will never change it. And so, of course, now they're getting a hurricane or two, and they would just soon see people die in the Gulf Coast to promote their agenda. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I think the solution is to influence the opinion leaders. I like to influence, for instance, commissioners and public utility commissions and politicians. There's so much propaganda. Most people probably think that wind or solar is a very economical and avant-garde way of generating electricity. But if you look into the hard numbers, it's not. It's just a big waste of money. It is literally true that it's useless. Wind and solar are subsidized approximately 70%. And the rooftop solar is the worst of all. That's subsidized approximately 90%. It's quite incredible. And the subsidies are hidden in such a way that you wouldn't even notice they were being subsidized.
The caller brought up an excellent point, Mr. Rogers, that I'd like you to expand upon a little bit. And when it comes to the education system in our country, the students, whether they're elementary or high school or college, they're not being told the real truth about the costs, about the actual workings of solar and wind, and how expensive it is, and how it's not really going to be a success ratio for the American public. How do we get this point to the younger generation? How, if the schools are so biased, how are we going to get this point across?
My solution would be freedom of choice for schools, the voucher system, in other words. I think reforming the public education system is basically an impossibility, because they're always, every 5 years, they reform themselves. It's always a fake reform. And it ends up it's distracts the public. They think, they're reforming themselves. In 5 years, everyone realizes they're they're as screwed up as ever, and they say, "Oh well, we're going to reform ourselves again." This has been going on for 30 years.
Let me ask you this question, if I may, sir. I recently saw an article that was put out by the Associated Press, and it was written by a gentleman by the name of Seth Borenstein, and the headline was on, like, page 4. This should have been page 1. It said, quote, "More wind power would warm the United States." Here these people like Al Gore and others are saying we've got to cut down on the global warming, but it's been proven that a lot of these wind farms in the evening hours down in Texas are actually increasing the warming temperatures by as much as 2 degrees. Isn't this absolutely ridiculous and away from what they're trying to preach?
Well, they would probably say it's just at the low level in the atmosphere or something like that. They would have some way of explaining away. A similar situation is with the ships. Ships, exhaust a lot of smoke, CO2, and so there's movement to make them burn less fuel so as not to generate so much CO2. But it turns out that makes the Earth hotter because the ships leaves trails of they leave basically clouds along their tracks, and the clouds reflect the sunlight, cools the Earth. So.
Let me ask you this. I'm down to the last couple of minutes on our segment time, but when you look at this dumb energy, which it is, solar and wind, and I say it's nothing more than wanting to control the American public more, and the key word, the 7-letter word, is control. How can we fight this? Or is it a slam dunk that these people like Al Gore are going to win?
No, I think people all over the country are fighting it, and I think we have to fight it with facts. The fact is that it's just not economical. It makes absolutely no sense. But that's not understood, and there's so much propaganda going out in the opposite direction. The propaganda is put out by environmental groups like the Sierra Club. It's put out by the manufacturers of the equipment, like the American Wind Energy Association. And the scientists are complicit, too. The scientific organizations have pushed global warming because it's a big bonanza for them. So they push highly dubious science because it creates a crisis and it gives them a lot of attention, a lot of money.
I would suggest that you take your book and you go to the halls of Congress and you go to the House and you go to the Senate and you put a copy on everybody's desk and say you must read this, because I think some of the most illiterate people in America today are our congressmen and senators. Would you agree?
I agree. The only trouble is if you send them a copy of the book, it just ends up with a big pile of other things that lobbyists and everyone else has sent them. So the chances of them reading it is pretty small.
Well, I guess then I go back to revert to the question I asked a minute ago. With your book, and again, I can't wait to read it and find out what's inside the book, and I agree with the premise of the book. How in the world is the American public going to be understanding the facts instead of being dumbed down by the liberal left?
Well, I think it's programs like yours are one. People, not everyone can spend their time researching scientific questions and this kind of thing. So we depend on the people we hear on the radio and on the television and the newspapers to give us true facts. And all too often it's biased,
Absolutely.
But there is a strong right-wing press that tends to be on my side of this stuff.
Well, tell me this. Where can the book be obtained? Give us the sources, please.
Sure. It's in Amazon. You just go to Amazon, type Dumb Energy, you'll find it. If you Google Dumb Energy, you'll find me. You'll find my website. You'll find the link to the Amazon.
Well, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your coming on the program, Mr. Norman Rogers, a retired physicist and author of Dumb Energy, a critique of wind and solar energy. Sir, come back soon. I'm going to get a copy of that book, and I want to have you back on the program.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely agree with the premise of this book. And wind and solar energy, the first line on the bio sheet says, wind and solar energy have negative economic value. I couldn't agree more. And what I quoted a few moments ago was absolute fact. The Associated Press did write a story that was in our local paper, the Times News, a couple of days ago on last Friday, and it was on A4. They kind of hide it on the fold, but it was more wind power would actually warm the United States. And by the way, that was with some scientists out of Harvard University. So there you go. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wow, it's been a busy morning. And we're going to right now have our weather forecast. I can tell you what the weather forecast is without even listening. Wet. It's wet out there. Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, the telephone number, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. All the delicious meats, I mean the pork ribs and the tri-tips and the prime ribs, all the beef, pork, and chicken, all of it delicious from Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. Caller, don't you dare go away. I'll be right with you. I just got to get the weather forecast. Here's Gina.
Expect more rain showers for today and maybe even tonight, but maybe some sunshine for the weekend. Here's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Yes, rain showers expected off and on throughout the entirety of today. Mostly cloudy skies. On the breezy side as well, gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 47 tonight. Those rain showers are going to continue. Hopefully they're going to taper off in the overnight hours. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 33. We do have a slight chance of rain showers for Thursday, partly sunny by the afternoon. Expecting a high of 51, mostly clear, and 28 for Thursday night. As we head on into the weekend, by Friday, going to see some sunshine, high of 56 with an overnight low of 30. Saturday, sunny and 54, and for Sunday, sunny and 47. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And the weather again brought to you by Scarrow's Meats, delicious meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Great. Changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time, Scarrow's Meats. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. I just got bits and pieces of your last guest due to me being in and out of my truck, but they're talking about energy and solar energy and such. Well, when I lived out west of Burley, I was on Idaho Power, and man, our power bill was extremely high compared to my in-laws and other people on other power companies. And I was really looking at getting a solar panel system set up so I could draw power from when it was sunny, and then when it wasn't, I'd have to go off the line, and it would actually have saved me over about 20 years. I would have saved half the cost. But then again, half a cost now or half a cost in 20 years, it is what it is.
Yeah. Most all of these plans, these great ideas with wind power and solar power are reliant upon other sources of alternative energy when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow. But what really surprised me, Riley, was when I stumbled upon this story that ramping up wind power in various wind farms across America, and Idaho, of course, has many wind farms, actually aids and abets the warming process. So this is kind of counterproductive to what these so-called great knowledgeable people know about wind and solar and also climate change.
Well, I agree with you there. I was never a fan of the windmills. Never was. Never have been.
I think they're cancers on the landscape.
I agree with you. I think if a guy wants to put a solar panel on his own property and have it up on his house where it's not interfering with anybody, that's his business. But to have buy up sections and sections of land like you see going up towards Mountain Home,
yes,
and going out towards out by Seagull Bay, all that reflecting of that light. If you ever drove by there and the catch you just right, it gets awful daggone bright.
I wish somebody...
That's a pain in the butt.
I wish somebody, Riley, would at least have the decency and the education to tell me how the world is running out of time to stop catastrophic global warming like Al Gore has predicted for the last 15 years. All of his predictions and time constraints on those predictions have gone down the sewer. And here he is again. Oh, we're running out of time. What are we running out of, Riley? Please tell me.
Well, I don't think we're running out of anything. I think that his bank accounts and his debts are coming due, and he needs more money. That's what I'm thinking thinking about. I mean, the more and more he talks about how the end is coming and the time is near and we're going to burn up or drown or freeze or whatever he wants to throw out on the table, the less and less people are taking him serious, because he's failed, not once, but 3 times now on his deadline to when the world's going to end because of global warming.
Absolutely, and I'm sick and tired of the Chicken Little syndrome in this country. I really am. I think right now we have got a lot of chance and opportunity to make this country so much bigger, so much stronger, so much more energy dependent upon nobody else but ourselves. But we have these people like Al Gore and others that want to put us on the hook and make us go live in a cave and burn buffalo dung. I'm sick and tired of the regressive society.
I agree with you. I got one last thing for you, and I'd like you and the listeners to think about. You take a pie tin, and you put ice cubes in it, and you fill it up with water, warm water, and those ice cubes melt. Does your pie tin run over?
Well, sure.
No, it don't. You can't displace the weight, the displacement.
Well, you know what? You're right. I did not think. You are right. Pardon me.
The volume of water is already there, whether it be solid
That's right.
form, it's already there.
That's right.
Matter. So the length or the depth of the oceans, if all the ice were to melt, I'm not any scientist or anything, but I really don't think it's going to get all that deep.
You know what? I'm so glad you said that, because I was wrong in my short, curt answer, and Mr. Sponham, my old biology and science teacher back in high school, is probably rolling over in his grave because I didn't understand that at first. Thank you for the educational seminar, Riley. I appreciate it.
Well, I found it on the internet by chance. I can't claim total credit, but it did take some thinking.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
You betcha.
All right, take care. Yeah, I should have realized that. Thank you very much, Riley. I appreciate it. It's kind of like going back to junior in high school with Mr. Sponham. Yes, sirree, Bob. I should have thought of that. Anyhow, I also want to remind you about the fall tire sale. This I know is absolutely bona fide. Stand by, caller. I'll be right there. Fall tire sale, saving you a lot of money and offering you the best of tires, the different tread designs, all the sizes at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely for your cars, pickups, SUVs, trailers, whatever you need tires for, they've got them right there at all 7 locations, along with the best of front-end alignment shocks and struts and batteries. Oh, those batteries are important this time of the year. You stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. That's not brag, that's a fact. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I got exactly a minute. Go ahead, please.
Well, first off, I want to say you had a great show today. And I want to thank all of the ladies this morning who called in and shared their opinions with you. That was fantastic.
Thank you, Doug. That means a lot, and I mean that. I sometimes I wonder what the audience thinks of the various programming. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, it was a great show, and I like that deal, the dummy crats. I looked that up. It's cute, but it's not going to come to our area, and I'm just wondering. And there's nothing on there that says that we can buy a DVD of it already.
Well, he's going to be back on the air with me next Monday at 9:30, and that's one of the questions I'm going to ask him about the availability in this area.
Yeah, because they didn't bring the Nesta D'Souza's latest movie to this area at all that I know of.
Well, you know what? There might be a case to where, if need be, I might try to make arrangements myself.
There you go, my friend. I'll be there.
All right, Doug. Thanks for your call. Appreciate it.
I want to leave you with this famous quote from Lawrence Welk. There's going to be good days, and there will be bad days, and this is one of them.
Amen, brother. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate it. Got to run, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Put your water wings on. It's wet out there. Drive carefully. Zeb at the Ranch, where we always say the way things were, the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.